There is a sacred rhythm to existence, a divine cadence that moves through us like an unseen river shaping the land. We are not merely individuals walking separate paths, but notes in an eternal composition, each carrying a melody only the heavens can fully hear. The silence between those notes, the things we do not say, the mysteries we do not unveil, often speaks louder than the declarations of our lips. For what is a seed before it breaks the earth? What is a story before it is told? The work of your hands, the weight of your trials, the quiet shaping of your purpose, these are the whispers of destiny, not meant to be announced but revealed in time. So do not rush to define yourself with words. Let your becoming be a gentle unfolding, a secret written in the fabric of time. After all, the sun never tells the world it shines. It simply rises. There is a quiet power in the things left unsaid. In a world where people rush to explain themselves, to define their worth by titles and accomplishments, there is something sacred about restraint. Not everything needs to be announced. Not everything needs to be placed on display for the world to see. Some things, perhaps the most important things, are meant to be lived, not declared. Think of the wind. You do not see it, yet you know it moves. It bends the trees, stirs the waters, shifts the course of mighty ships. It does not need to introduce itself, for its presence is felt. So it is with the things that truly matter. The depth of a person is not found in what they proclaim, but in what they quietly become. We live in an age where people are taught to brand themselves, to summarize their purpose in a few polished words. But purpose is not a slogan. Calling yourself something does not make it so. A man may say, "I am strong," but true strength is not in the words. It is in how he carries burdens when no one is watching. A woman may say, "I am wise," but wisdom is not self-declared. It is revealed in how she navigates the storms of life. There is wisdom in allowing your work to speak for itself. When you tell people what you do, you invite assumptions, labels, expectation. But when you simply do what you are called to do without seeking permission or applause, your actions become undeniable. There is a weight, a presence, a truth in a life that does not demand recognition, but commands respect by the quiet force of its integrity. Think of the greatest forces in this world, the tides, the turning of the earth, the silent stretch of the heavens. They do not introduce themselves, yet their impact is everywhere. The sun does not declare, "I will rise." It simply ascends, spilling light across the sky. The river does not announce its path. It carves through rock and valley, shaping the land without a single word, and so it should be with us. The things of true value, the things that last, do not need to be broadcasted. The deepest love does not always need to be spoken. The purest faith does not always need to be preached. The strongest souls do not always need to be seen. There is a holiness in hiddenness, in the sacred work done in silence, away from the eyes of the world. There is a reason the roots grow downward before the tree reaches upward. There is a reason the foundation is laid before the house is built. The unseen work is the most important work. And so, do not be so quick to reveal everything about yourself. Do not be in a hurry to define what God is still unfolding. Some things must grow in silence before they can stand in the light. Your life is not a resume. Your purpose is not a business card. You are not here to sell yourself, but to become something greater than words could ever capture. So live in such a way that no explanation is needed. Walk so firmly in your calling that when people see you, they do not need to ask what you do. They know who you are. We spend so much of our lives trying to define ourselves, trying to put into words what we do, who we are, where we fit in this great unfolding story of time. But life is not a definition. It is a journey. Who you are is not a title, not a job, not a simple string of words you can hand to someone like a business card. Who you are is something far deeper, something that is always changing, always growing, always being shaped by the unseen hand of God. A caterpillar does not call itself a butterfly before it grows its wings. A seed does not claim to be a tree before it has broken through the earth. And yet, so often we feel the need to define ourselves prematurely, to fit neatly into a description that others can understand. But how can we speak of what we are when we are still becoming? How can we put a name to something that is not yet finished? Some of the greatest stories ever lived were not recognized as great in their beginning. A shepherd boy with a sling did not yet look like a king. A fisherman with rough hands did not yet look like a disciple. A carpenter's son did not yet look like the Savior of the world. But their purpose was unfolding, step by step, moment by moment, through victories and failures, through wilderness and waiting. We make the mistake of thinking that a job title defines a person, that a role in society is the fullness of who they are. But a man is not simply his work, and a woman is not merely her responsibilities. You are not just what you do for a living. You are not just what people call you. There is something far greater within you than a title could ever contain. And if that is true, then why rush to explain yourself? Why limit yourself with words that may no longer fit you tomorrow? You may say, this is who I am, but what if God is leading you somewhere new? What if what you do today is just a stepping stone towards something you cannot yet see? Consider Abraham, called to leave his home, called to step into the unknown without a map, without certainty, without a title to hold on to. He was not called to explain himself. He was called to walk. He was not called to be understood. He was called to obey. And so it is with us. Life is not about declaring what we are. It is about walking in faith, trusting that we are being made into something greater than we could ever describe. A person who truly knows who they are does not need to announce it. A flame does not need to prove that it burns. It simply shines. A river does not need to explain its course, and you do not need to rush to define what God is still shaping. So be patient with yourself. Do not be in such a hurry to put a name to your purpose. Trust that the one who made you is still making you, still refining you, still preparing you for something beyond what you can imagine. Live in such a way that your identity is not in what you say, but in what you become. There is something sacred about mystery. We live in a world that demands explanations, that wants to define, categorize, and label everything. We are told that clarity is power, that if we can just put the right words around who we are and what we do, then people will understand us, respect us, even admire us. But the greatest things in life, the things that truly move us, are not things we can explain. They are things we feel. Think of the wind. You cannot see it, yet you know it is there. You know it by the way it moves the trees, by the way it cools your face on a hot day, by the way a great ship bends to its unseen force. It never speaks, but its presence is undeniable. Some of the most powerful things in this world do not announce themselves, and neither should you. The world will try to convince you that in order to be respected, you must prove yourself. That in order to be taken seriously, you must explain yourself. But I tell you, the people who carry the most authority in this life are not the ones who talk the most about who they are. They are the ones who live in such a way that their presence speaks for itself. A man does not need to say, I am strong, if his strength is evident in the way he endures hardship. A woman does not need to say, I am kind, if her kindness is felt in the way she carries the burdens of others. The truth of who you are will always be louder than your words. And if that is true, then there is wisdom in holding back. There is wisdom in letting your purpose be revealed in its own time. When you rush to define yourself, you risk being misunderstood, misjudged, placed in a box too small, for what God is doing in your life. Some things are meant to remain hidden until the right season. Some things are meant to be revealed only when they are ready. A seed in the ground does not shout, "I will be a mighty tree." It grows in silence, reaching deep before it rises high. A sculptor does not explain every strike of his chisel. He simply carves, and in time, the shape emerges. And you too are growing into something that cannot yet be fully seen. So do not be in a hurry to declare your purpose. Do not be so quick to explain yourself. Let your life be the proof of what you carry within you. Let the work of your hands, the way you love, the way you endure, the way you rise after you fall, let these things be your testimony. Some of the greatest people to ever walk this earth were not recognized for what they were until long after their work was finished. Some of the most extraordinary lives were lived quietly, unnoticed by the crowds, unknown to history, yet fully known to God, and that is enough. You do not need to be understood. You do not need to explain yourself. You need only to walk in faith, to live with integrity, to move with purpose. And in time, those who need to know will see. Not because you told them, but because the truth cannot be hidden. Live in such a way that your presence is felt, your purpose is known, and your impact is undeniable, without a single word. There is a rhythm to life, a divine order that unfolds in ways we cannot always see or understand. The greatest works of God are not rushed. The strongest foundations are not built in haste. There is a time for everything, and some of the most important things, perhaps the very things you have been called to, must grow in silence before they are revealed in the light. Look at the way the earth was formed. It did not come into being in a single breath. The mountains were not raised in an instant, nor were the rivers carved in a moment. The world as we know it was shaped over time, slowly, steadily, with a wisdom far beyond our own. The same is true of you. There are seasons in life when you will feel unseen, when it seems as if nothing is happening, as if you are standing still while the world moves forward without you. But do not mistake silence for absence. Do not confuse waiting with wasting. A tree does not bear fruit in the winter, but that does not mean it is not alive. Beneath the surface, the roots are still growing, deepening, strengthening, preparing for the season when they will be needed most. So often we want to rush the process. We want to force open doors that are not yet meant to be opened. We want to tell the world who we are before we have fully become. But just because something is delayed does not mean it is denied. Just because the world does not yet see the fullness of what you carry does not mean it is not real. Some of the most powerful works of God are done in secret, in the quiet places, in the moments when no one is watching. Look at how a great work of art is created. A sculptor does not begin by showing the world a masterpiece. He begins with a block of stone, chiseling away in solitude, shaping, refining, perfecting. And only when the time is right does the beauty of his work emerge for others to see. The same is true for the calling on your life. What is being formed in you is not meant to be rushed. What is growing within you is not meant to be exposed before its time. There is power in allowing yourself to be shaped by the unseen seasons, in trusting that what feels like waiting is actually preparation. Think of Joseph. He had a vision of greatness, a dream of what God would do in his life. But before that dream was fulfilled, he was thrown into a pit, sold into slavery, imprisoned, forgotten. Year after year, it must have seemed as if the promise had been lost, but in reality, the promise was unfolding. The years in the shadows were not wasted. They were refining him, strengthening him, preparing him for the moment when he would step into what he was meant to become. And so it is with you. Do not despise the seasons of silence. Do not grow weary when your path is hidden from others. Trust that in the places no one sees, God is at work. Trust that the roots beneath the surface are growing deeper, that the foundation being laid in quiet will one day hold something mighty. And when the time comes, when the season is right, When the work in you has been completed, then and only then will what has been hidden be revealed. Not because you forced it, not because you announced it, but because it was always meant to be seen. So do not fear the silence. Do not rush the process. The work that is done in the unseen places is the work that will stand the test of time. The most powerful things in this world do not ask for recognition. The sun does not wake up in the morning and declare, "I will shine today." It simply rises. The ocean does not boast of its depth, nor does the mountain demand to be seen. They exist in quiet strength, and their presence alone is enough. So it should be with us. We live in a time where people are taught that in order to be valued, they must be noticed, that their worth is measured by how many eyes are upon them, how many voices speak their name. But true greatness does not come from seeking attention. It comes from walking in purpose, regardless of who is watching. A farmer does not stand in his field and shout about the harvest before the seeds have even broken through the soil. He labors in faith, trusting that in due time the earth will yield its fruit. In the same way, your life's work, your calling, your purpose is not something you need to announce. It is something that will be revealed through the way you live, through the choices you make, through the consistency of your character. Words can only go so far. A person may call themselves honest, but honesty is proven in the choices made when no one is watching. A person may say they are strong, but strength is not in the claiming, it is in the enduring. Who you are is not what you say, it is what you do, how you live, how you carry yourself when no one is there to applaud. The most respected people in this world are not those who demand recognition, but those whose lives speak for them. Think of the great men and women of history. The ones whose names we remember were not those who spent their time trying to prove their worth, but those who simply walked in their purpose day by day until the world could not help but take notice. And yet, even if no one notices, even if no one ever acknowledges the work you have done, does that make it any less meaningful? A life lived with integrity is never wasted. A life lived in obedience to what is right, to what is true, is never in vain. If you are walking in your purpose, if you are living in alignment with what you have been called to do, then whether or not the world sees you does not matter, because heaven sees. Think of a lighthouse standing on a distant shore. It does not shout to the passing ships, "Look at me, I am guiding you." No, it simply shines. It stands firm, steadfast, unwavering. And because it is faithful in doing what it was meant to do, lives are saved. That is how we are meant to live. Not striving for recognition, not seeking approval, not spending our days trying to convince the world of our worth, but standing firm, steady, faithful, living in such a way that our very presence becomes a light, a guiding force, a testament to something greater than ourselves. And when the time comes, when your work has been tested, when your life has been lived in quiet faithfulness, then you will see that you never needed to declare who you were, because those who needed to know already knew. And the one who called you has known all along. So let your life be your message. Let your actions be your testimony, and live in such a way that no words are necessary. There is a great freedom in living without the need to explain yourself. A freedom that comes when you stop trying to convince the world of your worth and simply walk in the truth of who you are. So many people spend their lives weighed down by the opinions of others. They shape their words carefully, hoping to be understood. They present themselves in ways that will be accepted, hoping to be approved. But no matter how much you try, no matter how clearly you speak, there will always be those who misunderstand you. There will always be those who do not see, who do not hear, who do not believe. And that is all right. You were not created to be understood by everyone. The greatest lives ever lived were not free from misunderstanding. The ones who changed the course of history were ridiculed, doubted, questioned, but they did not stop to explain themselves. They did not waste their time justifying their purpose to those who could not see it. They simply walked forward step by step, faithful to the call upon their lives. Think of Noah. He built an ark when the sky was clear, when the world saw no need for it. They laughed at him, ridiculed him, called him a fool, but he did not stop to defend himself. He did not waste his breath trying to explain what only time would reveal. And when the rain began to fall, those who had doubted him saw the truth, but by then their understanding did not matter. Some things are not meant to be explained. Some things can only be shown. And if that is true, then why burden yourself with the weight of trying to make everyone understand? Why spend your energy trying to justify what is already known in heaven? When you know who you are, when you know the work that has been placed in your hands, when you are walking in the purpose set before you, then let that be enough. Do not let the voices of doubt distract you. Do not let the misunderstandings of others discourage you. Keep your eyes on the path ahead and walk in quiet confidence. There is a story unfolding in your life, a story being written not by the world's expectations, not by the opinions of others, but by the one who formed you. And that story does not need to be explained, it needs to be lived. So let go of the need to be understood. Release the burden of trying to prove yourself. Walk in the quiet assurance that you are known, you are seen, and you are being led by a hand far greater than your own. And in the end, it will not be your explanations that matter. It will not be your words that define you. It will be the life you lived, the path you walked, the legacy you left behind. So walk in faith. Walk in truth, and let your life be enough.